The Shanghai Scientific and Educational Film Studio. Whether it is a branch or a leaf or a plant, or a limb or organ of an animal, they are all embryos containing the information of the whole organization, ECIWO for short. All organisms are formed by ECIWO. Embryo containing the information of the whole organization, a new discovery in biological science. Science advisor Zhang Yingqing, technical advisors Zhang Yingqing, Liu Changgong, Gao Qi. Script Han Wei, Miao Qin, Qing Yue. Director Han Wei. Photography Zhou Xingquan. There are several million species of organisms on Earth living under various environments, in numerous shapes and colors, making Mother Nature full of life and vitality everywhere. There is a myriad of mysteries in the living world. Men have been trying their best to understand living things since ancient times. With the invention of the microscope, the 17th century British scientist Robert Hooke saw the cells of the plant for the first time. More than 150 years later, German scientists Schleiten and T. Schwann established the great theory of histology. Histology correctly points out that the cell is the universal structural unit of organisms, that all organisms are formed by cells, and that new cells are formed by cell division. But the organism is very complicated. Are there any other universal structural units besides the cell? This is something worth probing into. This is Professor Yingqing Zhang of Shandong University. After years of observation and profound research, he has put forward a theory of ECIWO and founded ECIWO biology. The theory of ECIWO discloses that there's another universal structural and functional unit in organisms, namely the ECIWO. As we know, the yolk of an egg is an ovum of the chicken. A fertilized egg can be hatched into a chick. The fertilized ovum of living things contains all the information of the organism and can develop into a new organism. The common cells of an organism are somatic cells. They also contain all the information of an organism and has the ability to develop into a new organism. The cells in many parts of the body of a plant can be artificially cultivated in the laboratory, causing them to develop into whole new plants on culture medium. This is a white mouse embryo at the initial stage of its development. Cut it into several somatic cell groups and implant them into the womb of the mother mouse. These somatic cell groups will develop into mice that look completely alike. The somatic cells of an animal or a plant can develop into new organisms under artificial cultivation conditions in the laboratory. Under natural conditions, they can also express their ability of developing into new organisms in the body of the animal or plant itself. However, owing to the control of the whole body, they will undergo specialization in the course of their development, resulting in forming a component part of the whole organism. For instance, a leaf, or a flower, or a branch on the body of a plant. An organ or a limb on the body of an animal. All parts of an organism come from the development and specialization of somatic cells. Although they are different in shape and function, all of them contain all the information of the whole organism. They are specialized embryos. Therefore, Professor Zhang named them ECIWOs. On the body of a plant, the characteristics of the embryo of many ECIWOs are quite evident. The many small cacti on the large cactus are highly developed ECIWOs. They can be taken down and planted to form new individuals. The transformed stems of the Christmas cactus are specialized embryos. When planted into soil, they develop into new Christmas cacti. The air plant Kalanchoe always has its young at the rim of its leaves. They have roots and leaves with all the characteristics of an embryo and can grow once they touch soil. There are always aerial roots at the base of the branches of a fig tree. This shows every branch is an ECIWO. In other words, each is a small fig tree on the big fig tree. Although there are no area roots on the base part of pine branches, we can still find their embryo characters. The large branches are well developed, similar to small pine trees, and the small ones are underdeveloped ECIWOs. Look, they are the same as the saplings of pine trees. Each node of this type of Chinese flowering crabapple is a specialized embryo that can be propagated by cuttage. A fallen leaf of Thorawort crassula can take root and sprout on the ground. This demonstrates the embryo characters of plant leaves. From their shape, we can see the poplar leaves are well-developed ECIWOs. Actually, a leaf is a flattened poplar tree. Are the leaves of the conifer tree ECIWOs? Yes, but of a very low degree of development. For example, a bunch of Chinese pine leaves is a two-leaved sprout growing on the tree. The stem tuber and rhizome of the plant are also specialized embryos. Isn't it true that plants like ginger, canna, and potato can propagate new plants with their stem, tuber, or rhizome? Like the body of plants, the various parts of the body of animals are also ECIWOs. A shoot will grow out of the body of a hydra, just like the branch of a plant. Each shoot is an ECIWO that can live independently away from the parent body. The turbolaring worm can propagate through asexual horizontal division. After breaking off, each section can develop into a whole new individual. Most sections of the earthworm have the same internal organs and structures. each section is a specialized embryo. That is why, when an earthworm is cut into two parts, they can grow into two earthworms. The zebra is a very peculiar animal with stripes all over its body. But do you know that the number of stripes over the main parts of its body are the same? Look, they all have 11 stripes. This phenomenon is an indication of the embryo characters of the various main ECIWOs on the zebra's body. The hind part of a heron's body is covered with feathers. There are only a few long feathers at the back of its head. At the lower part of its body are long legs and feet, and at the lower part of its head is its long beak. The coats of its beak and legs are made up of cutin protein. These correlated phenomena show that the bird's head is a specialized embryo. It may be difficult to comprehend if we say the limbs and organs of the human body are ECIWOs. But in fact, humans, like the other higher animals, are no exception. If we compare man's ear with man's early fetus, we may find out that not only are they alike in shape, but also the would-be limbs and organs in the fetus correspond to the correlated loci on the ear used by traditional Chinese doctors to treat illnesses. It is noteworthy that the region on the ear corresponded to the eye is a deformity in some people when they were born. Actually, this is an underdeveloped eye grown on the ear. Therefore, the human ear is an ECIWO. Let's now look at the human limbs. In each limb of the human body, there is a long bone. And in man's early fetus, there is a primitive bone called the notochord. Look, the notochord is grown on the backside of the fetus, while the long bone is on the backside of the limb. In fact, the long bone is specialized from the notochord. The limb is a specialized fetus. This is true of each limb in the human body. Since each part of the organism is an ECIWO, how then is the organism formed from ECIWO? Obviously, a cactus is formed by ECIWO in the form of transformed stems. The zebra is formed by various highly developed ECIWOs. But it is not enough to view living things only in this way. In fact, every organism is a multi-level ECIWO. For example, the whole pine tree is an ECIWO of the first level. The main branches on the trunk are ECIWOs on the second level. The minor branches on the main branches are ECIWOs of the third level. The twigs on the minor branches are ECIWOs of the fourth level. The clusters of needles on the twigs are ECIWOs of the fifth level. Each needle is an ECIWO of the sixth level. The cells in the needle are ECIWOs of the last level. All prosperous plants are formed by such ECIWOs. The structure of the human body is most complicated. A limb alone has many levels of ECIWOs. All highly developed ECIWOs are the epitome of the whole. let's take a look at some organisms in the light of the ECIWO theory. Many familiar phenomena of the organism will unfold new meanings. Look, plants such as the oleander are tertiary. Its many-leveled ECIWOs are the epitome of the whole. Each has 3 branches. Even the leaves grow in 3s on the twigs. The kapok tree. Each of its branch has 5 minor branches. As an epitome of the whole, its compound leaf has 5 small leaves. Although the leaves of plants come in various shapes, the shape of these ECIWOs often reflect the distribution of the leaves on the body of the plant. Plants like the Japanese snail sand have more and larger leaves at its lower part, while the leaves at the top are fewer and smaller. Correlatedly, its leaves are in the shape of a pointed egg. The cineraria also has large leaves at its lower part and smaller leaves at the top. The leaves are in the shape of an egg, wide at the lower part and narrow at the top. On the contrary, the leaves of the Euphorbia splendens gather at the top. The leaves are like an inverted egg. The leaves of the true land tree are also grown at the upper part of the plant. Each leaf is in the shape of an inverted egg. The flowers and the fruits of the plants are also ECIWOs. The shapes of the petals on the whole reflect the distribution of the flowers on the plant. The flowers of the canna are at the top. The petals are in the shape of an inverted egg. The flowers of the common evening primrose are at the top. The petals are in the shape of inverted eggs. But the garden eggplant is quite different, its flowers being at the lower part of the branches and the petals look somewhat like triangles. The shapes of the fruits usually reflect the distribution of the fruits on the plant. Fruits often do not grow on the upper part of the peach tree. The fruits are distributed at the lower middle part of the branch, so the peaches all have a big belly with a tiny mouth. Figs have a large head and a small belly. This reflects the fact that the fruits are distributed at the upper part of the plant. We already know the head of a bird is an ECIWO. The beak on the head and the legs of the whole body are correlated. Look, birds with flat bills mostly have webs joining the toes. Birds with sharp beaks have sharp claws on their toes. Birds with long bills have long legs, short bills, short legs. In many birds, even the color of the bill and the leg is the same. On each of the hands and feet of the human being and the ape are grown 5 fingers or toes. This is an exhibition of the traits of the ECIWO of the limbs. Such animals have 2 forelimbs, 2 hind limbs, and a head, exactly 5 chief branches. The black and white hairs of the porcupine are alternating. So are the spines on its back. This shows that each spine of the porcupine is also an ECIWO. The colors of the feathers on the body of the green peacock include indigo, blue, yellow, and green. The beautiful spots on its tail feathers also have these colors. The spots are ECIWOs. Looking at these spots, you seem to find that there are many, many small peacocks on the big peacock. The various main ECIWOs in the zebra have the same number of stripes. Tigers, leopards, and giraffes belong to the same category. The number of the spots and stripes of some ECIWOs in them are equal. If you are interested, you can pay a visit to the zoo and count them, but it sure takes time to do so. Not only the ECIWO theory deepened man's knowledge of organism, it is also of theoretical significance and has a comprehensive practical value. Only the roots of ginseng have been used in medicine since ancient times. The stalk, leaves, and flowers are ignored. People mistakenly think that only the roots contain the ingredient Panax saponin. According to the ECIWO theory, the stalk, leaves, flowers, and fruits, like the roots, are all ECIWOs. They all contain Panax saponin. Research and analyses have proved that the amount of Panax saponin contained in some of the stalk, leaves, flowers, and fruits is even larger than that in the roots. Better use should be made of them. Many organisms living thousands of millions of years ago have been extinct. We can only find some of their broken fossils in the Earth's strata. The ECIWO theory points out that all highly developed ECIWOs are epitomes of the whole. In this way, paleontologists can reconstruct the whole organism in accordance with the shape of the partial ECIWO provided by the fossils. In agricultural production, the application of ECIWO theory in seed selection is an important measure for high yield. The ears of the maize grow on the middle part of the stalk. As an epitome of the whole plant, the maize ear, being the ECIWO, will grow best on the middle part of the stalk, and the seed-bearing hereditary potential will be the strongest there. Therefore, seeds should be selected from those on the middle part of the ears. Experiments show that seed from this part produced a yield 10% higher than those from the seeds of the whole ear. Potatoes grow stem tubers in the lower half of the plant. An ECIWO like this, in its correlation to the whole plant, has its strongest hereditary potential in the lower half to grow stem tubers. Therefore, in planting potatoes, the lower part of the tuber should be used. Experiments show that the yield is 15% higher than that using the whole tuber. Such an ECIWO selection method finds practical uses for many produces. The ECIWO theory has provided our age-old acupuncture therapy with modern scientific theoretical basis. At the same time, a new medical treatment is born, the bio-ECIWO treatment. According to the ECIWO theory, each highly developed ECIWO in the human body is an epitome of the whole body. On each ECIWO, there are points corresponding to various parts of the human body. Thus, on the whole human body are orderly distributed many loci systems. If a certain part of the human body is out of order, pathological responses will occur on the correlated parts of the chief ECIWOs of the body. By examining a certain pathological response locus, the area of the disease can be diagnosed. This is the method of finger pressing. This is examination by finger pressing. When the lumbar locus on the ECIWO is pressed, the patient feels pain. This means the illness is in the lumbar area. True enough, this patient has been checked with CT, lumbar vertebra protuberance. This is the electro-ECIW graph for diagnosis invented by Professor Zhang. It can be used to scan the ECIW loci of the metacarpal bone system of the human body so as to quickly detect the loci with pathological responses and find the diseased area. According to the waves scanned, the doctor diagnosed that the affected area is in the leg. Quite right. The patient's lower left limb suffers from deep-seated venous thrombosis. After a man falls ill, if acupuncture or massage is applied to a certain pathological response locus of the ECIWO, the whole body will produce specific biochemical materials, regulating and repairing the acupuncture locus and each pathological response locus on the ECIWO and the affected area. In this way, the illness is cured. This patient suffers from acute gastritis. The stomach ache is unbearable. The patient is in great pain. The doctor applies acupuncture on the stomach locus of the second metacarpal bone system, and the stomach ache is quickly alleviated. Half an hour later, the patient is well again. This patient suffers from hemiplegia due to cerebral thrombosis. The right side of the body is inactive. Here, the doctors applied 4 courses of bio-ECIWO therapy. 3 months later, the patient has, on the whole, recovered. The discovery of ECIWO and the birth of the ECIWO theory have been well received by experts and scholars home and abroad. In recent years, ECIWO biology is developing rapidly. More and more people are interested in it, and more researches carried out. Just as histology has played an important role in the history of science, the ECIWO theory will exert profound influence on various fields of life science.